Hello students, today we will do temperature dependence of resistivity. Now we know that the resistivity of any conductor changes with respect to temperature, and we know that the resistivity increases with increase in temperature. Now it has been found that over a limited range of temperature, the resistivity of any conductor is given by rho of T, that is read as the resistivity of any material at temperature T. Also we have to remember that the formula what we are writing is obeyed over a limited range of temperature, means if the temperature variation is not very large. For a large change in the value of the temperature, this formula is generally not applicable. So this rho T will be read as the resistivity of a conductor at temperature T, that is equal to rho naught, where rho naught is a resistivity at some reference temperature. So rho T is equal to rho naught 1 plus alpha T minus T naught. Now this is the general equation given where rho T is resistivity at temperature T. Rho naught is the resistivity at temperature T naught, where T naught is a reference temperature, that is in Kelvin, and T is a temperature again in Kelvin at which the resistivity has to be found. So the reference temperature and the resistivity or a reference resistivity will be given. Now dimensionally if you check, there is another constant which is temperature coefficient of resistivity. This alpha is called as temperature coefficient of resistivity, and this constant SI unit of alpha. Now from the equation, the dimension on LHS should be equal to the dimension on RHS. So the rho T, rho naught have a same dimension. So in order that this quantity within the bracket becomes dimensionless, the SI unit of alpha becomes Kelvin inverse. So it is per Kelvin, or we can write Kelvin inverse only, and dimensional formula can be written as m naught L naught T naught K raised to minus 1. So this is a formula which is generally obeyed when the temperature or the change in the temperature is not very large, where T naught should be remembered as a reference temperature, and at T naught the resistivity is rho naught. T is a temperature where the resistivity becomes rho T. So if we open the bracket, you can see it is rho naught plus something, that is rho naught alpha T minus T naught. So as the temperature increases, the resistivity or the resistance increases, though at the microscopic level we have seen that it is actually the relaxation time which decreases. So we will come to that point also again, which we have discussed in the previous lecture. Now let us see rho versus T graph for different materials. Now if we draw the graph of this equation if we draw the graph of this equation, it comes out to be a straight line. This graph for this relation comes out to be a straight line, and therefore we say that this equation is applicable for limited range of temperature, for a limited range of temperature. However, it has been found that suppose we draw a graph of rho versus T. Here T is taken in Kelvin and this is the resistivity at temperature T. So it has been found that for a conductor, this is a graph for conductor. So for a conductor below 0 degree centigrade, the graph deviates from straight line. So if we consider a conductor and the reference temperature or the temperature is taken to be below 0 degree centigrade, then this graph deviates from the straight line, that is, the graph comes out to be a curve. And beyond this 0 degree centigrade, the graph may come out to be a straight line. So for a conductor, the graph, this you have to remember, the graph is, the temperature is taken in Kelvin. So we have to use this formula for a limited range of the temperature. Then let us consider a rho T graph for an alloy. Now for an alloy, the rho versus T graph, again T is in Kelvin and this is rho T. The graph is found to be a straight line, that is a linear. This indicates for alloy, the resistivity is almost independent. The resistivity is almost independent of temperature, because as temperature increases, the resistivity also increases in a direct proportion. So this is the advantage of the wire bound. This is the advantage of wire bound resistor. So we have discussed in previous lecture the wire bound resistors. We have two types of resistors, wire bound resistors and a carbon resistor. So wire bound resistors are generally made up of alloy, because its advantage is that this alloy substance like nichrome, manganese, constantan that we have discussed, they are very insensitive, or they are insensitive to temperature. Means if the temperature changes, the resistivity does not change by large amount as compared to the conductor. So for a conductor, as the temperature increases, the resistivity increases, and for below 0 degree centigrade, this graph deviates from the straight line. So this entire temperature is in Kelvin, and which is less than the 0 degree centigrade. So the advantage of alloy bound resistor is another importance of the alloy wire bound resistors are at 0 Kelvin, this resistivity is not 0. So for an alloy, when the temperature becomes 0 Kelvin, that is absolute 0, then its resistivity is non-zero. And for a conductor, at 0 Kelvin, the resistivity almost becomes 0, or it tends to 0, because we know that the thermal energy is available, and the thermal energy is 3/2 kBT. Now if temperature is 0 Kelvin, the thermal energy is 0. As a result, the ions does not oscillate with large amplitude, and the electrons are also not in a random motion. So if a conductor is kept at 0 Kelvin, its resistivity becomes almost 0, because the thermal energy is given by 3/2 kBT, and it becomes 0. For an alloy, even at 0 Kelvin, you will get a certain resistivity, say rho naught. So this is one of the way to determine the purity of an expensive material. For example, if we have an expensive material like gold, now if we do an experiment and find out its resistivity of a gold at different temperature, then at 0 Kelvin we will find that if it is a pure gold, its resistivity comes out to be almost 0. But if there is some impurity in that gold, its resistivity will not be 0 as well. The graph will also not be curved. It will be a straight line. So this is how one way to check the purity of the metal is to draw a rho versus T graph. If a metal is completely pure, then you will get the graph as a curved. Otherwise, if you get a graph as a straight line, it means there is some impurity. So this is one way to determine the purity and impurity. Now next is let us see the graph of semiconductor. Now for a semiconductor, we know that, and we have studied, or we have simply discussed that for a semiconductor the resistivity decreases with increase in temperature. So we have a separate chapter for semiconductor. We will discuss about its resistivity also. For the time being, the rho T graph for conductor and semiconductor are opposite. Here, as temperature increases, resistivity decreases. As temperature increases, the resistivity increases. So this is all about, we have a rho versus T graph. Now we know that the resistivity rho is given as m upon n e squared tau. That was a derivation we derived in the previous lecture. So resistivity is equal to m upon, where n was the electron density, that is number of electrons per unit volume, is the charge on electron, and tau is the relaxation time. Again we will discuss the same thing for conductor. We talk about a conductor. So for conductor, as temperature increases, see, m is constant, E is constant, N is the number of free electrons per unit volume. Now this N in the case of conductor is almost independent of a temperature. So as temperature increases for a conductor, N does not depend much on temperature. That is, we assume that the number of free electrons remain same, number of free electrons per unit volume remains same, which will not be the case in the semiconductor. So as temperature increases, we know that the drift velocity will increase. Drift velocity will increase means all the electron will try to accelerate. We have seen that when we connect a battery, and then if we provide some energy to it, say by heating, then all the electrons try to accelerate, or their average velocity or average speed increases, that is drift velocity increases. So what will happen? There will be a frequent collision of an electrons with the ion. So as compared to the previous case, their relaxation time decreases. So the average relaxation time decreases. What was the relaxation time? It was the time interval for which an electron was accelerating, or the time interval when its drift speed was increasing or drift velocity was increasing. Now when there is a frequent collision, the relaxation time decreases, and therefore the resistivity increases. So this is the situation for conductor. Now when we talk about a semiconductor or few insulator also show the dependence on the temperature. Means as temperature increases, now if we have an ideal insulator, its resistivity is infinite. But there are few insulator which when the temperature is increased, they start conducting, although their conductivity is very low. Or we talk about a semiconductor. Now what happens in semiconductor? As temperature increases, in this situation for semiconductor we will study, but as temperature increases, the number of free electrons per unit volume also increases, which was constant in this case. So N increases, and yes, relaxation time decreases, but N dominates tau. N dominates tau means the number density increases much large, or the number of electrons per unit volume increases considerably as compared to decrease in the relaxation time. So N dominates in this equation. One is increasing, one is decreasing. But this increase in the number density is much more than the decrease in the relaxation time, and therefore as temperature increases, the resistivity decreases because N increases considerably or by a large amount. So we will discuss about this N in the chapter semiconductor. For the time being, as temperature increases at microscopic level, you can explain this. What happens when the temperature increases? So ultimately relaxation time decreases and therefore the resistivity increase. This is at microscopic level. But at a macroscopic, this is microscopic, this is macroscopic. We have to remember this relation, which is valid only for a limited range of temperature. So now we will discuss some numericals related to this topic. Now let us see example 3.3. Now you refer the question 3.3. Here I have written the highlight of this question. It is given that an electric toaster uses a nichrome wire as an heating element. So we know that an electric toaster consists of a rod of an alloy which is acting as a heating element. So we have an electric toaster which uses nichrome as an heating element. Now when the small current is passed, the resistance at the room temperature is found to be 75.3 ohms. So initially when the current passing through the toaster is very small, then the temperature is assumed to be 27 degrees centigrade, that is the room temperature. So you have to remember that when small amount of current is passing through a resistance, the heating effect is ignored because the current passing is very small. So we don't consider a heating effect. And we also know that as soon as we switch on the electric toaster, it will not be heated at once. It will take some time. That time is the current takes time for getting a steady value, and then temperatures become steady, the current also becomes steady, and the heating effect is also constant, as in the case of iron. So when we plug a iron and switch on, then the iron is not heated immediately, it takes some time. So initially, even when we have switched on the iron, the surface is almost at the room temperature because the small amount of current is passing through it. So we assume its coil temperature to be 27 degrees centigrade. But when the current start increasing, then the temperature also increase and the coil becomes heat, or it is heated. And as a result, the resistance will change, because we know as temperature increases, the resistance should also change. So after some time, the temperature becomes steady, the current becomes steady, and we get a constant heat from it, from a toaster or a iron. So this is we have to remember. So first step is when small current is passed, then we ignore heating effect. We ignore heating effect, and the temperature is assumed to be at room temperature. So initially we assume that the current passing through the coil is very small, and so we have ignored the heating effect, and that temperature is taken as the temperature of the room, or we assume it is a room temperature. Now when we connect this to an AC supply or 230 volt, its current will increase and the steady value will be obtained. So the temperature will also rise. So what happened initially, to take us, you passed a small current, it is given in the question. So we ignore the heating effect because the coil or a toaster will not be heated at once. So temperature is assumed to be at room temperature. So let T1, which will become our reference temperature in this case, is 27 degrees centigrade, and resistance at T1 is R1 is equal to, it is given that 75.3 ohms. So this is the initial situation. Now we connect this toaster with 230 volt. Now in this situation the current first is more, and then it will achieve a steady value. So when we connect it to a 230 volt, when toaster is connected to 230 volt supply, the current is initially greater. So when the toaster is connected to a 230 volt supply, the current is initially greater or higher than its steady value. So when toaster is connected, the current is initially greater, or we can say higher than steady current. So you have to remember this. As soon as you connect a supply, the current is initially more. Now when this current, now since this is an electric toaster, say its resistance is R2, when it is connected to a supply of 230 volt, and let I be the current in that situation which is given. So the current is 268 ampere. So initially when we connect this toaster with 230 volt, I is more. Now when the current starts flowing through the resistance, that is the conductor or a resistance is heated, and then the current achieve a steady value and the temperature is also steady. So we get a steady resistance that we can find out with the help of V and I by using the Ohm's law. So here I is a steady current, but initially the current is, whenever you connect anything to a supply, the current is initially higher than the steady current. As toaster or as coil heat ups, the temperature increases, the temperature increases. So as the current start flowing, the temperature increases and resistance also increase. But after some time, the current becomes steady and the resistance is steady. So we have to now see, as the coil heat up, the temperature increases. So we have to find out, the question is find the steady temperature. Now everything is steady, the current also achieved a steady value, the resistance is also steady, and now what is the temperature? So initially, as soon as I connect any device, the current start flowing. The current is higher because the initial resistance is assumed to be 27 degrees centigrade because the current flowing was a small value. But as soon as this coil start heating up, and we know why the coil gets heating up or why the conductor is heated, because inside the conductor the electrons collide with the ions, and when electron collide with the ion, their amplitude increases and the kinetic energy achieved by the free electrons when they collide with the ions, it is transferred into the potential energy. So their amplitude of oscillation increases and they strike with the wall of the conductor or a container, and therefore the conductor or a conductor heat up. So as the current start flowing, its temperature rises and so does its resistance. Now after some time, though that time interval is very small, you have seen that it will be few seconds only. So this is also a case of an iron. So simply in our daily life we use iron. Now what happened? Again, when I switch on the iron, the current flowing is very small initially, and we assume the temperature is same as that of room temperature. But after some time the coil start heating up and the temperature is rising. Then the current in the circuit becomes steady, the temperature also becomes steady because the resistance is now fixed. So a resistance is steady. Let R2 be the resistance. Therefore R2 is written as V upon I, that is a Ohm's law. Let R2 be the resistance at steady current. So we assume the new resistance. So this will be equal to 230 divided by the steady current is given as 2.68. So you calculate this value. This value comes out to be 85.8 ohms. So this is R2. Now clearly the initial resistance was 75. Now when the current has become steady, the resistance is 85.8 ohms. So resistance has increased. So does the temperature will also increase. We will find out the temperature. So now we have R1, R2, reference temperature is 27. So alpha is also given. So we directly use the formula. We know that rho T is equal to rho naught 1 plus alpha T minus T naught. So here in this question we have taken R1 and R2. So instead of this resistivity, the resistance is given. So this is our formula. Now assuming there is no change in the dimension, that is length, area, etc. remains fixed because it is an alloy. So in the place of this, I can write RT is equal to R naught. So we change our formula because R is equal to rho L upon A. Assuming the dimension does not change, it remains fixed whether the temperature is T or T naught. So we said that this formula is applicable for limited range of a temperature only. So here L by A, here also L by A, or the dimension will remain same. So in the place of rho I substitute R. Here we have used R1, R2, etc. So I will write R2 is equal to R1 1 plus alpha T minus T naught. So this is T2 minus T1. So let R2 be the resistance at the steady current and T2 is the temperature and T2 is temperature. So instead of writing this formula in the terms of rho, we can write the same formula in the terms of a resistance R. So directly we know that R2 is equal to this. Now R2 85.8 is equal to R1, that is 75.3, 1 plus alpha T2 that you have to find out, minus T1 that is 27 degrees centigrade is given. Now see, if alpha is in centigrade inverse, though the SI unit is Kelvin inverse, then this temperature is also taken in centigrade. If alpha is given in Kelvin, you convert this 27 degree in Kelvin only. Now a simple calculation, this can be written as 85.8 is equal to 75.3. I am opening the bracket, that is plus 73.5 alpha T2 minus 27, and therefore 85.8 minus 75.3 is equal to 75.3 alpha T2 minus 27 degree centigrade. So this is the case. Therefore, we can do this calculation. So 85.8 minus 70.3, that is 5, 0, 10. 10.5 divided by 75.3 into alpha, that is 1.70 into 10 raised to minus 4 is equal to T2 minus 27 degree centigrade, and therefore T2 is equal to 10.5, this power is taken up, 10 raised to 4 divided by 75.3 into 1.73, you calculate this value, plus 27. So whatever is the answer, it will be in degree centigrade. So this is how we apply the formula in example 3.3. So in the next lecture, we will see many examples related to this topic. Have a good day.